Rebecca, let's get some practical advice from you for those people who are living paycheck to paycheck and now are not working. What should they be doing right now?
Well, this is such a serious moment for so many families and so tough, Whoopi. So the number one thing is you want to go through your expenses and make sure that you're only at this point paying for those things that are essential. If you haven't already had conversations with your bank about forbearance, if you've lost your income, if you're not able to make those payments, speak to your bank if it's a mortgage, or speak to your landlord if it is a rental, and see what can be done around that. As far as forbearance is concerned, you're entitled to 3 months in most private banks, but if it's a government-backed mortgage, you're entitled to a year. The only thing I would caution against there for people, though, is if you can afford to make those payments, you should afford to make those payments, Whoopi. So even though it's a possibility right now, it's not something you don't want to get behind on that mortgage if you can keep from doing that.
And what about for those people with retirement savings? In the absolute worst case, should they be taking money out of their 401k?
Well, I would say this is a last resort. Under the CARES Act, the fees, if you were to take that money out early, the fees have been waived, but you still have to pay taxes on the money that you take out. And one thing I would really say is if you're young and you have time in front of you, you have to think about what taking that money out means for your future. You're basically stealing from your future. If you take $10,000 out of that 401k today, that money, if you live it out for the long run, could be worth $60,000. So think long and hard. I would scrape by in whatever way is possible before going to that last resort of your 401k.
Rebecca, companies are rethinking what their workforce will look like post-corona. Twitter announced recently that it will allow some of its workforce to continue working from home forever if they choose to do so. Do you think the workplace will ever look the same?
This is huge, and I don't think that the workplace will look the same for a long time. And you think about the ripple effect of what something like that means for these major companies that are now saying you can work from home. Suddenly, metropolises like New York and San Francisco and Los Angeles and Chicago, where the cost of living is so expensive and what you get for your dollar is so little, but you choose to live there because you go to work there. Well, suddenly, for people who have that flexibility now, they can be thinking, actually, I'd like to move somewhere with more space that isn't directly in this city. And what we have already seen since this crisis began is some movement out of urban areas. Just in the area in New York where I am, only about 50%, according to the census, 50% of the people who were there before the crisis are still here. And so you're seeing this flight out of cities. And for many millennials and young families, out of cities are looking a lot more popular. Sunny, I think the other thing we're going to see is even companies that do welcome their employees back will do it in shifts. Not everyone's coming back every single day. Google just today said that 60% of their workforce will come back 1 day a week towards the end of this year. Banks are doing that. But of course, there are two economies in the U.S. There's the economy where you can work from home, and then there's the service economy where you are an essential employee right now, and you have to be there on the job to make money. And this is raising so many questions about that as well, and the future structure of our economy, because it's an impossible decision for so many families right now.